You ever stop and think about where our food really begins? It's not in a grocery store, not even on the farm, really. Nope, it all starts with one tiny seed. These little things are the absolute foundation of our entire food system, the biological blueprint for pretty much everything we eat. So let's get into why protecting them is one of the most important things we can do. Now, for most of us, this is just a really beautiful picture, right? But you gotta understand, for millions of smallholder farmers all over the world, this kind of diversity isn't just nice to look at, it's the key to survival. It's generations of knowledge, adaptation, and resilience, all packed into these tiny grains. Because that's the reality for so many. For millions of farmers, just getting their hands on good, reliable seeds is one of the biggest hurdles they face season after season. It's a huge gamble that can literally trap them in a cycle of debt, bad harvests, and hunger. So let's really unpack that risky choice. What is this seed security problem that farmers are up against every single time they get ready to plant? Well, a lot of the time, it starts right there at home. You see, over 80% of small farmers rely on seeds they saved from their own last harvest. But without the right training, that can mean planting seeds that are poor quality. Maybe they're diseased or mixed with stuff you don't want. And the result? It's predictable. Weak crops and a disappointing harvest right from the get-go. So farmers are really caught in a bind here. The seeds they save themselves might not be great. The traditional varieties they've always used might not yield enough. And those new, fancy, improved seeds, they're often way too expensive or just plain hard to get. It's a tough situation. And all of this is causing that precious genetic diversity to just disappear, which makes our whole food system way more vulnerable. But what if the solution wasn't some big top-down program? What if it was built by farmers for farmers? Well, this is where a really powerful local idea comes into play: the community seed bank. A community-based seed system, or CBSS, is pretty much what it sounds like. It's a system that's run by the farmers themselves to make sure they always have a steady supply of high-quality seeds that are perfectly adapted to where they live. I love this analogy. It really is like a community-owned bank, but instead of cash, the asset is the very thing their livelihood is built on: seeds. And this just says it all, doesn't it? It's a simple but incredibly profound equation. When farmers have control over their own seeds, when they can get good, reliable planting material, they get food security. One leads directly to the other. It's that fundamental. So how does this actually play out on the ground? It's this really cool mix of honoring old school knowledge and bringing in some simple but super effective new techniques. Let's break down how it all works. The whole system is basically built on a cycle of quality control. First, everyone gets together to select the best varieties for their area. Then comes a super important step called roguing, where they literally walk the fields and pull out any unhealthy plants to keep the crop pure. After the harvest, careful drying and sorting, and then storing the seeds in airtight containers make sure they stay healthy and ready for the next season. Every step is designed to get the most out of every single seed. But look, a community seed bank is so much more than just a warehouse for seeds. It's a hub of knowledge. Farmers get hands-on training, they run trials together to see which new varieties can handle the changing climate, and they share everything they learn at events like seed fairs. And what happens? Local champions emerge, farmer leaders who step up, who train others, and who make sure the system keeps going for the long haul. And we absolutely have to talk about the central role that women often play in these systems. So often, they're the ones managing the seed stores, making the crucial decisions about which grains get saved for planting and which are used for food. Their knowledge is just vital to the success of the whole community. Okay, so the system sounds great in theory, right? But what about the results? Does this community-led approach actually move the needle? Well, the data is pretty stunning. Let's just start with this number. In places where yields are typically low, just by switching from their usual saved seed to the high-quality seeds from a community seed bank, a farmer can boost their harvest by nearly 20%. I mean, come on, that is a massive, life-changing improvement. And the benefits just keep stacking up. Good seed health management alone can bump yields by 15%. By growing other kinds of crops, farmers create new ways to make money. And maybe the most important thing of all, this directly fights hunger. In some communities, the number of hunger months, that's the scary time when food runs out before the next harvest, has been cut in half, from 4 months down to just 2. That's huge. To see what this looks like in the real world, let's head over to the Arakan Valley in the Philippines. It's a perfect example of how this model can create a real legacy of success. What started out with just 23 farmers has blossomed into an organization with over 100 members. And get this, they even have the backing of their local mayor, who's a farmer himself. They're bringing their land back to life and building this shared identity. They have a collective dream to make their valley famous as the home of Dinorado rice, which is this amazing local variety. The story of Arakan Valley really shows us that this whole thing is about so much more than just better seeds. It connects to a much, much bigger picture about biodiversity and about how we build resilience in a world that's constantly changing. Now, the fancy scientific term for what these farmers are doing is in situ conservation. And it's a really powerful idea. Instead of just sticking seeds in a freezer in some far-off lab, this is about managing and protecting that genetic diversity right there on the farm as part of a living, breathing, evolving system. It's conservation through active use. So these community systems, they basically become living libraries. They're actively reversing that scary trend of genetic loss. They're protecting these precious local varieties that hold the keys to things like drought tolerance or pest resistance, keys that are going to be absolutely essential for helping our food systems adapt to a changing climate. It really leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? As we stare down these enormous global challenges like climate change and food insecurity, we often look for these huge technological fixes. But maybe, just maybe, some of the most powerful, the most resilient, and the most sustainable solutions are already here, rooted in the knowledge and the collective power of local communities.